All right, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands twice if you can hear my voice. If you didn't finish, don't worry, we'll still have more time. But there's a couple more things I wanted to teach you about arrays today. Won't go through everything in that GitHub lesson. If you want to read what's on GitHub, definitely encourage you to do so. But some of those things I don't think we'll be needing to use for a while. So if we learn them now and don't use them, we'll forget them. So I'd rather teach them a little bit later when we need them. But here's some other things where I think is fair game and we could use them. Okay? So arrays continued. I want to talk about concat. I want to talk about array equality. And I want to talk about multi-dimensional arrays. I don't know how to spell this. Sorry. Is it really? Oh, I shouldn't have announced this. That's it. So some people think it's spelled correctly. I'm sure others who maybe don't know how to spell say it's not spelled correctly. So either one is okay with me. I don't care about the spelling. I only care that you understand the concept, yeah? All right, can we bring our attention up front? We're still talking, you're going to need to learn this for your future job someday. So let's bring it back up here. So concat. What does concat do? Okay, Rob?
When it takes two or more elements or something within two or more arrays and puts them together.
Yeah, right. So we did concatenation when we did string concatenation with the plus signs, right? And so it might seem like we should be able to, I'm writing in the wrong area. It seems like we should be able to do let array if we have 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever. And I have let second array equal 4, 5, 6. So we say, well, how can we join these two arrays together, right? So in Ruby, it's differently, and Ruby is a lot more intuitive. It might seem like we should be able to do console.log array plus second r, right? That feels like it should be there. Unfortunately, JavaScript is not quite so friendly. We'll see what happens. When you do something plus together, you might remember, what is going on here? You might remember that it turns things into strings, and so it creates this really weird string. Okay? So this is an unwanted behavior, right? This is unexpected, but this is something that JavaScript gives. So if we did an array plus an array, it just sticks them together as a weird, awkward string. So how do we get what we actually want? We use the method concat. So I can go over here, and I can write array.concat. Gotta love the cat. Save it. And then here, if we run it again, we'll see we get the result that we want. So it combines the two arrays into one. This is non-mutating. So if I log below here, if I say console.log array, we'll be able to see that our array has not changed, has not mutated. Unlike push and pop, which do mutate, concat does not. So if I wanted to save the result of that, I'd have to reassign it to, I'd have to assign it to some type of variable. Clear? This is something we can change. I could add another concat here if I wanted. Or I could say .concat, because this is giving us back an array. I could continue this, and I can do 7, 8, 9, and we'll still be hunky-dory, right? So a little bit helpful. Might come in handy at some point, especially someday when you do quick sort. but that's probably not for a little while. But concatenating is a nice thing to be able to do. There.
Never mind, I'll ask this one because I read that for the spread operator.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can answer this like.
Yeah, I'm going to do spread operator when we get into functions with multiple arguments. But there is another way to do that, yeah, using something called the spread operator. That's great. Definitely read ahead. Okay, so that's concat. Any other questions on concat? Great. So I want to talk about array equality. This is kind of a funny idea. Here, let me duplicate and then comment out. Okay. So if I get rid of these things here, okay. So I have an array where I call 1, 2, 3, and I have a second array, and I have 1, 2, 3. Now remember, this is all specific to JavaScript, some of these things, right? Well, like a language like Ruby does have concat. If you do plus with arrays in Ruby, it does put them together how you would expect, unlike JavaScript, which is like, I'm going to make a weird string. Okay, so for something like this, what do we think is going to happen if I do console.log array equal to second array? What do we expect? We would think it's true because they look identical, right? And in Ruby, a different programming language, you would be right. In JavaScript, however, you do not get what you're expecting. You actually get false. So what you need to take away from that is you cannot compare for array equality in JavaScript. Okay, you'd have to import a different library to help you, or write your own where you would be checking the length and iterating through every single character and checking its placement. You could write your own function, which we'll do someday. But for now, you should know cannot check for array equality. Okay. So let me ask you this one. So let's say instead of this, okay, so instead of these, I'll comment these out. And instead of that, I have let double. And I can make that equal. I assign that the value of array. All right. Console.log double. What do we expect? It's going to print 1, 2, 3, yes? Okay. I agree. That's great. Now, what if I say double is equal to array? Is that going to be true or is that going to be false? What? Who wants to defend their argument? Yeah, Rafid? Because? So he says this one's going to be true because double has a signed value of the array itself. It's not just the same. Interesting. So let's see. Yeah, so this one gives us back true. So in order to best explain this, it's the way JavaScript holds its memory of arrays. So, okay, so let's pretend you have this like memory chip, okay? And it's got all these spaces in there. And when we say a variable, we have it point to a spot in memory. So we'll put in here, we put this array. We have, let's say, 1, 2, and 3. And that's pointing, I'll have our array. This is our array 1, pointing to this spot in memory. Okay? So if I say double equals array, I say double, and I point to the exact same spot in memory. Because it's pointing to that array. So it just says this points to here, so I'll also point to there. Yeah.
So if we double that up, would it kick that true still? So if you made
Another one pointing to double.
say called triple, that also prints the array, and then say double equals triple?
Yep.
Would it
Good.
come back true?
It should come back true. Definitely encourage you to try it. So in the other one, right, we had a different spot. So we said second. So we had 1, 2, 3, and we had that pointed to second. And so when JavaScript does a comparison operator, uses the equality operator on two arrays, it actually is comparing the array. You can think of it as the array ID, which is a unique property to the array. This is the same with objects when we learn objects, but we don't have to worry about that. Yep.
Out of curiosity, if we do two equal signs instead of 3, will it say
Cool. Fun question. Okay. So she says if we do two equal signs, what do we get? We get the same thing. It can't convert it because the two equal signs actually does type conversion. So check, and these are already the same types. It's just they're pointing to like literally different spots. So the IDs might look nothing like. It might be 16432 and 22112. It's like whatever that random space in memory is. Okay, so this is how that works. Remember this chart. Maybe you want to draw that on your chart for yourself. So this can have interesting consequences. So, okay, so double an array, we have that. So if I wanted to do, if I do array.push and I pass in a 4, and instead of here, I console.log double, what do we think double will be? Take 15 seconds with the person next to you and decide what double is going to print out. All right, clap once if you can hear my voice. Clap twice if you can hear my voice. All right, who wants to share their prediction? Let's see, Marvin.
I kind of think that it will end up still being 1, 2, 3, only because of the JavaScript is good. Because right now, it's an array of 1, 2, 3, and the double, that array.
Right.
And we're pushing for the 2 array. The array itself can be 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, cool. What, if you agree with Marvin, what do you? All right, if we got some, we got like a pretty good hand.
So, like, if you constable double, it's gonna pop off array, right?
If I what?
If you constable off double, is it just gonna pop out array? And if you're pushing 4, is it gonna be array 4? That's what
Are you asking me what I'm asking you? Oh, that's what we're working on. Doug. Nice try. I will reveal the answer. Doug.
So I think that's the way it should work, but for this, because double is pointing to that specific
Yeah.
It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. Very cool. You agree with Doug? Oh, a lot more. Okay. Never mind. Okay. Right. So let's think about this. The variable name, the value at the variable name, the variable points to a spot in memory. So if we change it, we update that spot in memory. So I add a 4 here. Nothing moved. We're just still pointing to the same spot. So that is why. So this is important. Like, hopefully we see why this is important, because if you can very easily mistake your code and run down you can really run into some problems. So a way I could do this. So if I did want to have the same kind of thing, right? I could also do array dot slice here and go from 0 to the end. This is a good way to duplicate an array, because now double won't get changed. But this line, what do we think this line will do? Is this still going to equal the array? Good. Yeah, this will not equal the array anymore. Doing that slice will essentially create the same array, but in a different memory spot with a different pointer. It's very much like what we did originally with second. Okay, so that's the safer route. Yeah, Doug.
This only works because it's an object, right? Or
We're dealing with arrays.
which is
Kind of an object, yeah. Yeah, you've been reading ahead or something.
No, I typed type up and then on the array, and then it gives me object.
I'm sorry. But we'll be referring to object a little bit later this week as a very specific data structure. But yeah, under the cover, so to speak, or under the hood, I guess, it is an object, yeah. Yeah. Great.
So, the reason why the slice doesn't replicate is because essentially it creates a new array.
A brand new array.
Which has separate IDs. Even though it's the value, because it doesn't track value, it's almost like each one has a serial number. Whenever you duplicated them, even though you duplicated the value, it's like somebody trying to use a duplicate charge. It's like, that's not really the thing that you had before. But because it isn't really tracking the value, it's just tracking the ID.
Yeah.
The entire thing.
Right, so
That's why.
yeah, so just to sum that up in a different way, is if I do something dot slice here from 0 and I assign this to like third, then it's just gonna get there's gonna be another one here that's gonna go 1, 2, 3, and that's third is gonna point to that. That's what happens. That's all. Okay. Any questions on that? I know that's like a weird one. But it's kind of cool. It's not very intuitive. In Ruby, you can do that. Just so you know, if you have two identical looking arrays, they are identical in Ruby. I love Ruby, so you'll end up always hearing a little bit about it, regardless. Do you need it? It's great. It's a fun language. Maybe someday you'll want to learn it. Once you learn JavaScript, you learn Ruby in like a week. Once you learn one programming language really thoroughly, you can learn another one, like within a couple weeks. And Ruby was my first love. So don't tell my wife. Ruby on Rails is a framework that's created from Ruby. It's built with Ruby. Okay, anyway, next thing I'll check these off. I want to talk about the multi-dimensional array. Yeah. So we'll say let matrix mtx. So this is an array of arrays, right? This is like the inception of arrays, right? Within an array, within an array, within an array. So we can do, let's say 1, 2, I gotta type 2, 3. I'm going to try to make this as readable as possible. 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9. This tends to be how people how you'll see them, because it's a lot easier to read that way. Okay, so let's talk about this. So if I do console.log matrix.length, what's the expected result? Comma. 3. Why?
Every comma is one index. Every comma is one index.
Okay, he says 3 because every comma is one index, and the second part of that sentence is that every array counts as one element, conceptually. So we run it. 3. Excellent. So let's say I want that middle row. I want the array 4, 5, 6. All right, talk with the person next to you and tell me, how do I get just that middle row back? In what?
Index.
Nope. All right, clap your hands once you can hear my voice. All right, who wants to tell me the thoughts? Somebody new. Yeah, Britt. I think I'm perfectly today.
Inside the matrix, you can put the index for 1.
Index for 1. Okay, so she says matrix at 1. Agree? Disagree? All right. Let's try it out. Perfect. Nice job. Right? So we can still key into this array just like any array. Pretty straightforward, hopefully, right? And if we look at this, we have these rows, right? And we have these columns. So the very first index is referring to the row you're on. How would we get the number 5? So we want the very center one, right? We know how to get the array 4, 5, 6. How might we get the next one, Doug?
We put one.
Where's that one other one going?
Like after the one.
Right here or here?
Inside,
Out? Where do we think it's going? Right here, okay. Samantha says it confidently, I'm going to listen. Okay? Let's try it. Yeah. Right? Right? That's the next index. So we can keep indexing. Because you can index into an array, right? So you can keep indexing into an array. So we can keep going. Like right now we have the number 5, so we can't index into that. But if you have a matrix, you're going to always need to do 2 things. So if I want, let's play the game. How do I get 1, 1? Somebody help me. Kong? 0, 0, right? So if I make this 0, and I make this 0, I get 1, right? Because the first 0 gives me back that first element, which is the array 1, 2, 3. The next 0 gives me the first element in that array. Yeah, Ron.
Is it like 1 over and 1 down?
This is 0, 0 is right here.
Forgive me, I meant to the 5. I
Yeah.
took the 0, 0.
Yeah, the a second index, or first index 1, right, is here, and then index 1 for this array is here.
Okay.
So how could I get, take like 10 seconds with your partner. How do I get 7? Oh, yeah. That's going to be tough. All right, Clavians, once you can hear my voice. All right, somebody I haven't heard from. Okay. Anyone I haven't heard from? David? 3-0. Okay, so we're very close. Let's try it first, though, to see what would happen. So if we do 3-0, it's going to throw this error. And let's read the error. And the first thing it says is, cannot read property 0 of undefined. So why is that? Well, because our matrix has 3 elements, which means it has indexes 0, 1, and 2. So if we do matrix at 3, here, whoops. If we were to just do a matrix at 3, we'll get undefined because it's outside of the matrix. So instead of 3, we got to go to 2. So if we go to 2, we get our 7, 8, 9. And then you're totally right with the next one, which is we do put that 0. And then we got it. Rock and roll. Questions on that? All right, so let's do a quick little quiz on it. So if I do this, and we say, let test, don't really freak out, it's not a real test, right? And I do, okay, so let's say 1, 2, 1, 6, string. No. Okay. Excellent. Let's test our abilities. So, over the next couple minutes, tell me how I can get back the letter N. Right? Give me the letter N.
I even looked for it. I was like, it was
It's a pickle rat. I think most people find that.
yes.
Everybody saw the message. Something that's very negative. We already talked about another class that already.
All right, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands twice if you can hear my voice. How'd we do? Yay? Nay? Okay? What? Let's just go over it. All right. So we want the end. So first things first, how big is test? Like if I console log test.length, how big is it? 3? What do we think? Yeah, it's 3, right? It's got this element, and this element, yes? Okay. So we know we've got this array, so let's just like go like that for now. And we know that we can get to that array by going test at 2. Okay? So how do we get into, so we can see this one is inside of this array, which is inside of this array, yes? So which element is that? 2, right? So 0, 1, 2. So I'm going to just go like that. Whoops. Well, whatever. And this is 2. Okay. So now we've got that. Now where is this element? Where is this element? 1. Okay. So we can go 1. And then where is this element? 1. Okay. So we're at 1. Let's console log so far to see where we're at. Console.log. Right, so now, what do we got? Let's see. Make sure everything's going all right. Freaks out. What's the error? Just got some like weird syntax. Line 6. Oh, I screwed something up here. Let's see if that's better. Okay, so now we've got the string. Thanks, Con, for that. Okay, so if we want the end, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, put in a 4. Bada bing, bada boom. Got the end. Right. What? Oh, no. Oh, you missed yesterday. You go back and review the lesson highlights and stuff. Strings and arrays, we can index into both of them. Yeah. Great question, though. Clarify. Yeah, so just like that, right? It's a little weird, right? Usually your data isn't this nested. Definitely shouldn't be this nested. If it is this nested, there's probably something that's gone wrong prior to how it was set up. But you should know that it's possible. So as long as we're dealing with arrays, right, we can keep getting into it. Questions on how that's working? All right, cool. So if you feel good on that, you've mastered the multidimensional array for now. If not, definitely keep practicing. You can right. These are really easy games to make up, right? I'm just making this up, right? So if you don't feel that good and you find someone else who doesn't feel that good, it's very, very easy to just make up problems together, right? Like I didn't know the answer until I went over it with you right now because it's really too hard to keep track of. But you can definitely write random numbers and then make another array and just keep going. And like that's very within our ability. Okay, so that's all I really wanted to hit on today. That's these three things. So there is one more thing. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that's all the array stuff that I wanted to hit on. And so with the remainder of the day, you'll have time to continue to work on your lab if you haven't finished. If you have finished, there is a project. Maybe you've seen it in Canvas. If you haven't, you should definitely look at it. It looks like, why is this not dragging over?
The text version of Dungeons and Dragons.
What? Okay, so if I close this, hang on. I can drag this. This is the assignment. So the project is going to be to make a text-based adventure game. You'll have about a week and a half to do this. Most of the expectation, you'll be working on this individually, although you definitely should ask classmates for help and everything. We will give you some time in class to work, and if you finish the work that you're working on, you can work on this during class. A lot of the expectation for these, like these extended periods of projects, are like to work on these outside of class. The forking and all that works as per usual, and then there's some requirements. So what could this be? I mean, it can be anything. It can be, it's like, well, you're probably going to need a lot of if-else statements, essentially, and switch statements. And you'll also, when you download it, you'll see that they've already got you started off a little with this thing called readline sync, which we don't really know what that is yet, right? So, okay, no problem. I'm going to go ahead and just clone this and walk you through it. You may want to follow along. You might want to fork it and clone your own. I'm just going to clone this because I don't want it in my repository. Okay? So that would be a good idea for you. And I'm going to go here. I'm in our Unit 1 thing, and I'm going to say git clone, and that link, this would be the link to your repository. I'm going to cd into Pursuit Core web-based adventure product. What a mouthful. Open it in VS Code. Something funny. Okay. I'm going to open text-based. Not that one. I'm going to open this one. I'm going to close this. Get it to a point where I can type. Do Control backtick to open up my terminal. Okay. So if you're here, the first thing that you should do is run this command. And for some reason, I don't think it says it in the instructions, but you should do it. It's going to be npm install. Okay? When you hit enter, it should take a second. For some reason, it's going a little slow for my computer. And it installs all of these things. What's that installing? Well, I'll explain a lot more of that later. But for now, you can just kind of think of it as like somebody created a lot of functions and things and a lot of code somewhere else, and they've put it on the internet. And we can by installing this package, it's called a package, readline sync, we have access to all of those functions and things that that person wrote. So, like how we had slice for arrays, right? That was like something that was built into JavaScript. This is allowing us to have like different built-in things. Just immediately, once I open, I CD'd into the folder, and into the terminal, I just did npm install. You might see something called package JSON and things like that. You can just kind of ignore this for now. It just tells you some information on the stuff we installed. So they're going to need to have a git ignore, aren't they? Okay. Yeah, just do all of your changes in text-based adventure.js. Is everybody at this stage? Yes? Raise your hand if you're not, if you're stuck. So then you take back row.
So what do I do here?
Okay. Skybearers, once you can hear my voice. A couple more things we're still going to have to do, unfortunately. We are then going to have to create a new file. So I'm going to click on the file, and I'm going to type in.
Okay, for everybody, you need to be in VS Code, not in the other terminal. Okay?
Which other terminal?
Not the bash terminal.
Yeah.
You need to be in the integrated terminal of VS Code and to be on VS Code to follow code.
All right, so now we're creating this file, and the name of the file is .git ignore. Enter. Yeah. So the reason we're doing this is because when we install packages, such as readline sync, it creates a folder called the node modules folder. If you open this folder up, you'll see it has just a lot of stuff in it. And we don't want to push that stuff up to GitHub. So that is why we have this git ignore. So inside of our git ignore, we're going to write node underscore modules slash. This way, when we do get status, it doesn't add all that node module stuff. It will just be adding that get ignore. So all you need to do is create a file called .getIgnore, and inside of that file, write node modules /. That's it. Save it. That's it. Yeah, save everything you do. Yeah, you don't need to push right now, but this is for if you don't do this and then you try to do like add and commit, you'll get all this crap in the node modules folder, and sometimes that folder can get very, very big. It's too big to push out. Because of the way that package is all the packages are installed, they don't install. It's kind of like a little thing. All right, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands twice if you can hear my voice. Are we okay on that? If not, come call one of us over afterwards, and don't do any adding and committing until you get this. See, so if I do add, or if I just do get status, you'll see that the only thing that Git hasn't tracked yet is this file. Git will ignore the node modules file, which is what you want. Okay, so once you've done the get ignore, we can go back to here and let's learn a little bit about what's going on. Okay, so this has to remain on the top line for you, so you won't want to change this piece of code. This piece of code you can change to whatever you want, but we can say read line. That's calling something that we just required in. That's part of that package. And you can pose it as like, hey, dot question, and you can say like, enter your name. Okay? What does this do? So, and then here, well, it's already written then to the. All right, I misheard that. Okay. All right, so now if I run this file, and we say node, the name of this file is textbase adventure.js, we get this thing. It says enter your name, and the next line of code doesn't run until I write. So if I write Corey, and I hit enter, it now says, Corey, welcome to my game. So that is, this name input here is the same Corey. So it's saving that as a variable, it comes in as a string. Same with as if it was like a number. So let's say if I wanted to console.log type of, and then I said number, and right now it's complaining because I don't have a number. So I'll just go here and I'll say let number, well, what is it? All right, ST and J number, I don't care. And we'll say read line dot question. Well, I don't know why it's doing so many weird things here. What's your favorite number? Okay, something, right? The point. We'll see what the point of this is. All right, so I can go enter. I can rerun this, and it says enter your name. All right, Corey. Then it says what's your favorite number? I can say 13, right? And we're going to see that 13. It's taking it in as a string. That's all. So if you ask a user for a number, and they type in the number, you're going to have to convert it. If you need it to be a number for something in your game, like how many damage do you take? 4, right? You're going to need to you'll need to convert that into a number, and you can do that with our number, which it does mention this in the highlights doc. And you can run it again, and you can say, oh, okay, Corey, 13, and then it's like, okay, number. Does that make sense? So essentially, it's going to be like a lot of different if-else statements, right? Maybe you throw in a loop or something. It's like very, very flexible. It's just to practice creating something a little bit with less boundaries and to work on conditional statements and updating variables and whatnot. Okay? Questions on? Yeah, Tom.
So again, when you code, you're going to do something. Do you think what you're putting, you can do some other thing. You want to forward story back and forth. More.
Yeah, that would be cool, right? I mean, we understand the limitation of what we all know at this point, right? So it's okay if it's not. It could be something that guesses your favorite number. It could be. I back on what your code looks like. Yeah. Any other questions on how to set this up so that you'll be in an okay position for that project? No? All right, great. So that's all the lecture of the day. So if you haven't finished Daily Lab, work on that. If you already finished, you could start on this. We'll have some time to work on this tomorrow and stuff as well. But that being said, the goal of this should be to mostly work on this outside of class because we'll have other things to do in class. Cool? Rock and roll. Thank you. Yeah, there's a day on Canvas that says what day it's due. I don't remember. 18th, I think.